Welcome to the Creative Push, an intimate and diverse artist interview series. Here, artists and makers of all kinds share tips, advice, knowledge, and inspiration that you can learn from each week. This series is a part of the Learn and Create platform to help artists further their education in creativity, art, and business. I'm Sheri Oneal, a photographer, artist, writer, and educator. This week, artists Randy Purcell, Val Adams, and myself share our candid weekly goal and accountability meeting. Today, we're going to hash out ideas with managing and marketing our business goals as artists. I'm Sheri Oneal.
This is Val Adams. And I'm Randy Purcell.
And we are doing our weekly get-together for holding each other accountable for our goals.
Exactly. Yeah, and it's funny, we keep talking about holding each other accountable, and I forget what my goals are sometimes. I've been bad about it. I've been so sidetracked, and that's probably not a good thing to start out with. But
no, that's absolutely appropriate.
But it happens, you know, and it's kind of like I told y'all, I kind of took the pressure off myself on some things because you get so caught up in trying to be perfect, you waste time.
I had the realization that I'm on my computer so much. What am I getting accomplished? Like we're talking about accountability and time mapping.
Yeah.
So I've switched. So the last week I still had to do something. So I've been writing on my laptop in a different room, which is weird because it brings different energy in.
Yeah.
Because I can't use a laptop in the same way I did the computer because it's a stand-up desk and the monitors are built up higher, so it doesn't work with the laptop.
Yeah.
So basically, I've just kind of reevaluated. I've spent more time writing ideas. I'm using my iPad to write, handwrite. I like handwriting for some reason. Just brings a little bit
Am
of
I the only lefty here?
Yeah.
I am.
Are you left too? Really?
You're
So
lefty
I'm the
too?
only right-handed one here.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's interesting.
That is interesting.
But anyway, so I didn't reach any of my goals this past week because I haven't had a computer since last Wednesday. I've got cues on my tailwind waiting on stuff because I've still got the free plan.
I'm barely hanging in there.
I haven't edited any video, but I have done several interviews, Zoom interviews, so I've got content. It's just a matter of getting my computer back so I can do the video edit.
Yeah.
But that's it. That's all I got.
Did you do anything with your one of your top 10 big ones?
The top 10 big...
Yeah.
Big goals.
Big goals. Actually, I did. I actually sat down and wrote a whole list of big goals, and one of them is one that I've wanted. That's not even related to what I do. I've got to, before I move out of Nashville, which I don't know when that would be, but I moved here with a goal in mind, and that was to do one album.
Oh yeah.
And so I have to do an album before I leave. That's
cool.
So that's on my bucket list for a life. That's a life goal.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I've been writing since I moved here, so
Right.
I've got a lot to pull from. But there's a part of me that kind of wants to start from scratch because every time you write, every couple of years, you write different content.
Yeah.
So that would be one. The other is to complete all of the things I've started.
Oh, that's a big one.
not necessarily on the house, but I'm talking creative projects. You know, the way I see it book that I sent you. I was all ready to pull the trigger on that, and then you said, "Well, I'd like to know more about each picture." And now I'm going, "Okay, now I need to add that content." And because I self-doubt. It comes back to the self-doubt thing.
Well, maybe and part of the reason we picked the Big 10 is so we'll kind of break it down into smaller bites so we can accomplish those goals. So maybe that's it. Now that we have, because I have 9 things.
Oh, you do?
I have 10.
And number 10 would be pretty easy. I don't know why I stopped at 9.
Well, go ahead. I've shared mine. Who wants to go next?
But, the thing is, I think once we get the top 10 list done, then pick the ones that are the most important.
Yeah.
And let's take small bites. Let's not kill ourselves and get overwhelmed, I guess is what I'm worried about. You see these 10 things, you're like, that's a lot of stuff.
Well, and I think that's what we're trying to accomplish with our time management. And that's what you were talking about using things. It allows you to break those down into smaller levels. And I actually redid my room upstairs. I created for my little sound booth that I'm using for my Zoom calls. And when I did, I realized that because I used old windows that I had and created a V so it kind of
Oh,
pulls
okay.
the sound in.
Yeah.
But when I did that, I realized I have a space now for that whiteboard I had.
Oh, cool.
So now I've got the whiteboard in a place where I can see it every day.
Yeah.
Even when I'm doing an interview, I can put notes on there, but I can also break down my goals into sections just using different colored Post-its.
Yeah.
So that's also carrying over in time
Yes.
management and breaking things down to smaller pieces that I can handle without becoming
Keeping
overwhelmed.
things in front of our face makes a big difference.
We do.
It does.
Oh,
That's a big thing for me.
If you don't
Mhm.
see it, you forget about it, and then all of a sudden it sneaks up on you. You get an alert on your phone or whatever, like, oh crap, I was supposed to have this done last week.
Well, especially with ADD.
Yes.
Oh, totally.
We all three suffer in that problem.
You walk out of the room
It's
with
beautiful
artists.
outside.
It's called artist attention.
Yeah,
It is.
exactly.
All right, Val.
Okay.
What do you want to share?
I will share. So it's fascinating in the process of developing these goals. Like, I would start working on one of the goals, and then I would start fleshing out the goal, and I realized it would create like an offspring of a whole nother goal.
Yeah.
Which, in the case here, my first goal is to create and present one tribute sculpture per quarter to an industry community leader that is an unsung hero in the Nashville area, and devise a thoughtful process of time management and criteria for soliciting input. So, I have to make that, and that's a really short circuit of 3 months, and I should be able to, within that 90-day period, get that. That's not a lot, asking a lot of me.
No.
So, and it doesn't have to be, a cathedral
Right.
experience. It just could be something very basic, as long as I'm doing it, and it's that habit of getting in the rhythm.
Could you not
flow.
also start by creating like the base of those tributes, what they're going to be?
Yes.
And just have several of them ready, so while you're thinking of
Yes.
that person, you're like, oh, I got an idea, and you find the right pieces that you want to use for it. You just grab the base and start working.
And that's definitely it. It's like having almost a
Pre-plan, I guess.
A pre-plan. Yeah, exactly. Like having a truss, the way they build stages,
Yeah. It's like me.
build the trusses.
I put beeswax on panels, and I just keep those different size panels with wax on them, so when I do have a painting idea I'm ready to start on, I don't have to wait 2 hours for my wax to melt, put it on a panel. I just pull the panel out.
Pull the panel out and you're ready to rock.
And go.
Yeah, because sometimes
Yes.
you can lose that creative energy
Just
with
by
the prep.
preparing, yes. And
Yeah.
sometimes the preparing is part of the creative energy, so you got to leave it,
It works
open
both
both
ways.
ways. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's true. I also, so my tribute program, there's that, then identify and submit to a minimum one public art call for artists per month. And that might be a little bit large. I might want to make that bi-monthly, but I think there's enough between our prize, things that I always want to kind of perennial submission. But I want to use this to cantilever getting my portfolio tight and together and having basically a bug out bag of my material, because you know how it is. It's like, can I see your work? Could you have something that's like, bang, I want to have a thumb drive and be like, here, motherfucker.
or a daggum link, Dropbox link. You can be like, hey, I'll text you that link right now, and they can pull it up on their phone and look at your shit.
You use that app that makes your phone's mate or whatever it is.
Oh yeah, use Popple.
That's
Tap
right.
somebody's phone and
That's
say,
right.
here's my info. It's
Shout
on
out
there.
to Popple.
Yeah, it's so easy. You don't even carry business cards anymore if you got that.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's cool.
But yeah, I realize that's a big thing. Like, my Achilles heel is not having a portfolio that has narrative tied to it. And I think it needs to be a living document.
Yeah.
Which means I need to curate it, which means I need to touch back on it at least once a month.
Right.
And see, is it getting better? Is it stagnating?
So here's a suggestion.
Bring
because
it.
I know you're working on your website, right?
Yes.
Why can't your website be
I have
your
a bio.
portfolio?
Why couldn't my website what?
Be your portfolio. I mean, because that way they
Yeah.
both work together, and that's kind of what I try to do. When I make new work, I want to share it on my website. And I want to redo some things on my website so it's a little more personal. Every image needs to have that story with it.
It does.
So But if you did it on your website, it
That's
shows
That's
that
a good
it's
thought.
live and things are up to date, and you could always have a link on there that went to a separate something like Dropbox that has just images and stuff. But when people go to their website, that's probably
I like
where
that because it gives me traction. Like maybe under each project, I could have either, if it's done, the backstory, or if it's not done, in progress, the current story.
Yeah.
Which is like where I am in this long arc of being an artist and being alive.
Well, and you definitely want to have a website, I think, anyways, in today's day and age. Although I know a lot of people.
they're not used a lot, but I think.
Well, I
they're
know
still
people
important.
are using, Instagram. Here's the thing that people got to realize, and I just.
All roads lead to TikTok.
I just saw someone's. I can't remember if I interviewed an artist friend of mine last weekend, and they were talking about they don't have a website; they just use Instagram, and they found that that's so much easier than doing a website, and that they have tons of followers. Well, here's the problem: if you start relying on a social media platform, and that platform decides to change or go away,
Yep.
you've lost everybody.
everybody.
You've lost your entire audience.
Yes.
When you have a website, even if you don't think you're getting traffic, if your portfolio's there and you just keep leading people to it, and if you're constantly updating it, even if you have like a blog on the back end where you're just
That's what I
doing
do.
like what you do,
Mhm.
you're always going to have something grounded,
Yes.
and you need to build that. That's the biggest mistake, in my opinion, that I see, especially with artists, is that they're relying on these platforms. Those platforms are free. That means they can go away, they can be sold,
They
they
are
can be
not
bought.
guaranteed.
They don't
Yeah.
guarantee
Yep.
you anything because you're not paying for it.
Right.
And if
Right.
you have a website, that's why I try to put something in my blog once a week. If you show it's active, people are going to go to it more often.
Yep, I agree.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Well,
I
and it's
try to
good for
change
SEO,
YouTube videos, I try
Right.
to change those out occasionally because I have several on there. And usually, now that I'm doing this YouTube video thing every week, I'm trying. And when I write my blog, it includes the video, so it gives me a reason to be to my site. At my
Right.
site.
Well, and that's good SEO, which is search engine optimization, which
Yeah.
I've told you guys about.
Yep.
You want people to come and go from your website. It actually looks, in the eyes of Google, it looks like it's being used, and even if it's a small amount of traffic, it's better than
Yes.
no traffic.
Right.
And
Right.
and that becomes a searchable thing with your name
Mm-hmm.
and with your art if you're using the hashtags.
Yeah.
Instagram, you can still search and seek and all that on there, but the reality is Facebook owns Instagram now. We don't know what the next 10 years is going to be like, and if
Exactly.
you're building a career, you want to have a website.
And this goes back to what we were talking about with the meta tagging and naming your photos, which they strip out
Yeah.
all
Right.
of the information that you're putting
Yeah.
on there.
That's right. Yep.
And one other thing to keep in mind, kind of back to what your input on that, I know that certain platforms, again, like ArcPrize, they require a certain resolution. So
Yeah.
I don't know, I'd have to have a way to, if I was using a website for...
So when you're submitting
portfolio.
to shows for like Art Prize or whatever, what you would do is have a Dropbox file or somewhere you store your images at the professional
Yeah.
grade. So when you submit to shows, you do that. Now, if it's just
Dropbox
sending
is good.
somebody that wants to say, "Hey, let me see your portfolio," you send them to the link.
Yes.
It's got the different image sizes.
And keep it like, what was the appropriate
You
sizing
wanna
for a
keep 'em-
phone?
You want to keep them small, 72 DPI max,
Yeah.
and you can still have them big. You just
Yeah.
the DPI
Scalable,
is
yeah.
they're. I mean, you can really crunch your images pretty small and low res.
And it's all about the speed of download. And
And you want 'em
I'm
small.
bad about that because I've
Yeah.
had some on my website. I thought bigger was better, but now I think about it, that's why everything downloads so slow.
Image size, you want to keep it big so that if
Right.
they have a,
They can see
it's
it
a
on their
responsive
screen.
site and they're looking on a desktop versus on an
Right.
iPhone or something. But the DPI, you never want to go over 72. It's just a safer range, and it'll keep your files smaller, in the long run.
Yeah, I've got to redo all that.
Back to the younger avatars that we're selling to.
Yeah, exactly.
And what they use and hold in their hand.
Yeah.
Well,
Yes.
one quick thing for you though, Randy. You're using WordPress. There is a plugin that I can probably share with you later that will compress all your files without you having to upload them.
Oh, wow. Okay.
You can literally tell it, and it will go through your whole
Just
site
resize all
and
the
compress
media.
everything.
Compress every photo. Wow.
Now you want to test it to be safe. But but you can do it, and they do have a test mode where it'll resize everything and it'll keep the originals in case you want to go back.
Yeah.
So what you would want to do is test it first,
Right.
have it resize everything, go back and look through all your pictures and make sure there's no pixelation going on. And then once you feel safe, have it delete the original files, which just means it's getting rid of the large files, and that'll make your site work a lot better too. So I can share that with you, and I'm using it on the free version, so
Okay.
I can share that with you as well.
One of my last thing on me and my goals is the smaller ones, but one that I wanted to bring up was locate and attend one seminar-based open format business conference per quarter to improve awareness and keep up to speed with industry changes. I realize that there are these quantum leaps, and you can kind of, even as like hyper vigilant as you guys are, better than me, at knowing what's changing with platforms. There's use and utility in kind of seeking larger conferences to see what's coming down the pipe, and because there could be something that's could simplify everything, and I think that's the thing we're always trying to do. We're trying to, as we said before, like create we're in production mode, but we have an invisible marketing person, an invisible receptionist, an invisible accountant.
Is that you? I think that's you.
That's me.
If y'all didn't know, his
extended
phone is
car
vibrating.
warranty.
Yeah.
Oh, I need one right
I've already
away.
had 2 of those today.
That's great. Please sign me up.
Yeah.
That's all I got.
Oh, that's all? Okay.
Well, I've got more, but
Yeah.
I'm
I'm
gonna get
like
to
you. I'm going to just throw out a couple from my top 10 big goals. Let's see. I want to see. One big goal I have is the consistency of posting YouTube videos for a year. I'm so curious to see if I post a video every week for a year, what changes. So that's one big goal that I'm gonna have to stay on.
Well, and I think they just changed it where you can. They're allowing short videos now,
Yes.
like
Yeah, you
3
can do
minute
shorts.
or
Yep.
2 minute shorts.
So
or
I'm
something.
doing both now. So my plan is, occasionally I'm in the studio working and something pops in my head. I'm like, oh, that'd be fun to share. And I'll just use my phone, do a quick 2 or 3 minute video, post it on YouTube from my phone. It's so fast and easy. So I'm doing these studio shorts. And then I have my other camera above my workstation, and I'm using the OSB. And I've figured out now how to switch from.
so you're not using a GoPro.
No, he's just using his phone. The problem is it just adds a bunch of stuff to your phone if you don't want to deal with
So
that.
you can use your phone to do everything, and
Yeah, you just.
Is that mean-
But he's also in
GoPro-
his studio, and I think with
So
you,
with
I think
you-
yours would be better with a GoPro.
Yeah, you're not gonna be successful.
And you're also
with it.
going to want it higher
Yeah.
and just kind of stuck in one place
Yeah.
to see you in your workspace. He can move his around a little bit for
Right.
what he's
I got
doing.
an arm that holds my phone.
oh,
I
you can articulate
change
it a little bit.
Then I have a mic stand that holds my webcam above me, and so I can look and literally see what's going on my laptop with my webcam facing down.
Yeah.
But our processes are so different.
Yeah,
GoPro, you're
my-
going to catch a totally different.
Yeah, you're more. Yeah,
Feeling than what I
you're
get.
located.
Yes, I'm not working in a space as big as what
Well-
You could have long curly hair and a hair pick in your back pocket.
The other thing you got to keep in mind, though, and this is frustrating to me, is like with Instagram, you have to use your phone, or you have to use their app in order to record it. So you have to use your phone for that, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And it's not on your phone; it's actually on their
It's right.
on their server.
Yeah.
The other thing is YouTube videos you're going to want to shoot horizontally,
Mm-hmm.
which everything else you want to shoot the other way because
Exactly.
most people are. So there's all that. So like I've found that with everything that I have to pre-think and videotape, all those elements come into play, and I'm trying to figure out a way to. You have to almost shoot in all those different dynamics each time, and in order to share them on all the platforms, if that's your goal.
But is there kind of a point of diminishing returns to getting every angle, or?
Yeah, I don't think that matters as long as people can see what you're doing. What I'm saying is the platforms themselves, like Instagram, you have to use their app. With Facebook, you can upload from anything.
Right.
So you guys are always shooting vertical.
No,
Mostly?
I'm actually started doing both.
You start doing both? You do both?
I'm
Depends
doing
on what
it.
I'm shooting for.
Yeah, I'm doing it because I'm going to also want to add video on YouTube, which is a horizontal.
Surely there's an app.
Well, you can crop in. The problem is if you're shooting vertical, you have a lot less.
Yeah,
From an artist standpoint, I
that's
think wider is.
If I'm going to Instagram with something, I don't even care how to shoot it because I always square it up. I crop it so it's square.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter. But yeah, I
And
just
you lose
shoot
a lot
different
that
angles, and I don't worry about production of this really nice video. I mean, I'm doing simple raw
Down
stuff.
and dirty, get it done.
And the most I'll do, if more than likely what I'll do, if there's something in the video that I recorded, I just won't share that one. I'll do another one.
Right.
Instead of trying to edit out all these little nuances
But
that I
the
don't
cool
like.
thing is if you are recording it horizontally, that gives you an option later to patch it into other video content.
Exactly.
Like, I think what it comes down to is spend 2 or 3 minutes just shooting a quick live video on Instagram just to show that you're working. Shoot the higher end stuff that you're going to use for your YouTube horizontally just so you have footage. And then don't worry about it. Let it go, and when you have time, deal with that.
Yeah,
'Cause
start
you might
with
wanna
one.
Right.
Don't get worried about going across all platforms. That's what I'm working on now, is just YouTube. And of course I've done Instagram and Facebook so much. It's so easy for me. But I found that I can do the YouTube thing and just share the link through LinkedIn, through Twitter, through Facebook, and then I'll just keep it on my link tree on my Instagram.
Well, and I have noticed, for some reason, I don't know how this works yet because I haven't looked into it, but I have noticed that a lot of TikTokers are sharing their TikTok videos on Instagram. So there's got to be a way to do that, and I don't know how that is, but they're actually able.
Instagram is so weird about it. You can't
that's-
regram somebody's stuff without getting a different app, and then it doesn't.
But Facebook also owns, and so I think we're going to see changes happening.
Something's gonna
They're going to want to
happen.
make it easier for people because they're all fighting for the same thing. You know?
And this is back to the business seminar thing where I feel like, I have to get my eyes outside of my own screen somehow. And until I can afford a consultant in that way.
Right.
You guys are my consultants.
Yeah, that's okay.
Sherry's a pool of knowledge. I mean, I've just from us meeting these weekly meetings, it seems like every time I leave with something, I'm like, oh, I need to change that on my website.
I know.
My
I
Instagram
want to put a bag over my head.
Huge.
Well, I taught business classes for 10 years, so
It's true,
I have, and I've had to kind of grow,
And so
the younger
for
generation kind
anybody
of pushed me.
that's actually listening to us, it's amazing the growth individually, the things that you get off of the two people that you're sitting across from when you're discussing the business of being an artist, because there's so many things that you may question, you've researched, but you can never find a clear answer. But to be face to face with somebody that's already done all that research and played with it and figured it out saves you tons of time, or makes you find out that there was something like our images on my website not having the hashtags, the metadata.
Right.
I don't have any of that stuff, so I got to get that done. I never would have thought about it. It makes a big difference.
Well, and that's also
wouldn't
the
know to
reason
know.
I want to start doing classes to help people, and I'm
Yeah, the Learn and Create is going to be a great resource.
Yeah, and I've got a marketing connection now that I did the first interview. I can't edit the video until I get my computer back, but I did the first interview. I'm going to talk to her and see if she wants me to launch it tomorrow, or if I might just use this as part of our launch and push her a week just so I can have the video. But that's going to be a monthly thing now, and everything we talk about here that we need help with, I'm going to try to address those questions with her and have it a really quick, easy answer question, and then whoever asks questions.
You can always go into depth about those topics later, but if you hit on some of the easier parts of those questions, and then it's like, okay, this discussion's leading to something a little bit deeper we need to dive into.
And I want to keep those simple too, like a 10-minute question and answer where we're just getting straight knowledge and not having to search for something like, okay, what is metadata?
You can go
down
here's
10 minutes.
So much of a wormhole.
Yeah.
Oh, totally.
I get so frustrated. I'm like, why am I wasting?
We waste so much time. That's what I want to do. Is I want to provide people with just quick, easy answers.
Yeah, and you doubt when you're searching on the web, you doubt the content is it actually true.
Right.
I mean, you don't know if this person that claims to be this guru in this subject matter knows it all. I mean, maybe they do, but there's a chance that there's something they're telling you it won't work.
And I think the other thing that I know I'm tired of is everything's a subscription now, and my dollars towards growth is really important to me. I mean, because just the software, what I have to pay per month for software is a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm at a place where I want to give what I want. You know, I want to give people easy access to short, quick, easy answers.
Yes.
There's always more ways you can do something, but at least I'm giving them
Go
without
through
them having to sit through a
the big
45-minute
fluff.
video.
Yeah, all the fluff they put on these things drives me nuts.
You know, and on the note of marketing, I want to bring up Mark Barron because this is back to, and I'm going to flush this out real quick for listeners out there. I'm a metal sculptor. I made a guitar, electric guitar metal sculpture, and Mark Barron saw it, and he made the observation. He said, you know, if you put that on a stand so that it's up in the air and people could walk up behind it,
Act like
like the wings, he said it would be a home run.
You talk about
And I was like, holy shit. Expletive deleted. But that's the thing is I want to say fresh eyes on your work, soliciting critiques and input, never being too much of an expert in your process, kind of approaching it with new eyes. And I just, that avenue was like a no-brainer. As soon as he said it, I was like,
it's funny, the
what?
obvious is sometimes harder to see.
It is. It's a good way of putting it.
What's funny is that, you know, we've been talking about public art pieces, and that's one of my top 10s is a public art piece within the next year. Yeah. I've got all these ideas, and
having three is
to you know, add another to the list just helps. But I also see I want to help you make sure you get yours out there too, and maybe it's we collaborate. I mean,
well, and you got to also submit, like the submission process is, but I also think that's something that we can help each other, and you know, we also have Justin to help with writing if we need.
It's funny. I've been just doing a lot of stuff. Yeah, and every time it gets to the sculpture or public art thing, I'm like, oh shit, I need to let Val know about this one, but I've got so much little resources and stuff.
And that, folks, is why I live in Nashville, Tennessee, close to Randy Purcell, who thinks of me when he's not even with me.
All right, I'll bring up one more thing off of my list that I feel is important. Is actually I'm gonna say two, and I'll be brief about them. The Mystery Art League, within a year, I want that to be like a well-known business that artists can be a part of and get some press out of, and it's a fun event for people to experience. And of course, we're going to start this fall with the Franklin Art Crawl and then the Two Rivers Mansion. Those two right there will set the stage for next year, and I'm hoping it becomes a thing where we get booked in advance, and I can make this thing into.
So I want to ask you a little bit about that because I was thinking about it. Because to the outside observer, our audience perhaps, certainly me, it seems almost like you're partitioning your hard drive of you. You know, it's like, so when you create a whole campaign of something that's going to require a lot of your time and effort and oversight.
Kind of like learn and create.
Learn and create, exactly what I was thinking.
It's a side business, basically.
You beat me to it.
Yeah.
But you both have that.
But I also feel like last year was the hard work. You know,
the testing.
And I got to give a lot of credit to Tim and Justin and Grant and Michael. I mean, there's so many people involved, and making me throwing ideas off of them and us seeing what would work or not. And then Mihail let us host that private little party where we did it, and everything worked great. I mean, we had a little hiccup with the augmented reality section of it. So now I kind of it's not gone, but it's not going to be the focus. The focus is going to be in the artwork. And then if we have a chance, an opportunity to use Video Bomb, augmented reality, then we will. I think I've got ideas for that because I think it would be a fun aspect. But right now we're focused on the artwork. We've got the games figured out. Tim is like, if you're looking on a gauge of smart to not so smart, Tim's like way above the house, and I'm down here in the crawl space. And so when he throws ideas at me, I'm like, oh man, I said, that sounds great, but I think I would get frustrated. I said,
Kind of like Justin does the same thing.
Yeah. I said, you're going to have to dumb it down for me, man. I said, I know I'm not the only one that's going to be at an event, and if it's too complicated, I'm just going to sit there and drink and laugh at my friends, you know.
right.
And my wife wouldn't like that. My wife would not like that. So yeah, we need to make it where it's not so complicated that just a normal Joe can walk in and say, "Oh, I got this figured out." I don't mean make it super easy, but make it to where there's a little bit of a challenge, but there's also the opportunity to figure it out pretty fast. And we're doing this one, the first one for the Franklin Art Crawl. And we had to make it so that it's for an audience 12 and up. We want kids to be able to play in this game. And Tim came up with a genius idea, and I'm not even going to talk about it, but it's so perfect for this. And it's like the
Being to have kids level. Also able to interact as well?
Yes. Okay. It's gonna be easy enough where anybody can play. And so, yeah, we'll do that one there, and then the Two Rivers Mansion one's going to be a little bit harder because it's a different crowd, but it's also one like the Franklin Art Crawl. It's going to go on for a period of 2 or 3 months. The Two Rivers Mansion one's going to be a couple of hours in one night.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So it needs to be simple enough where people can figure it out, but you don't want to make it too easy. You don't want somebody to solve the whole thing up in 30 minutes and be like, now what?
You know what I've observed is that over the course of time is that everybody's great idea about how to evolve my process and my art and my business it's like their 10% and it requires my 90%, which it is a good idea. But sometimes somebody just want to say, oh gosh, no more good ideas.
Yeah.
Because they just want to have runtime.
Let's put that one
like
in
always evolving. No more good ideas.
That's why I have like 20 or 30 of these sketchbooks. Because, sometimes I'm like, that's a great idea, but I don't have time for it.
Yeah, I do think
so you write it down.
I think keeping a list of them is a good idea because you might not be in the right space right now, but 6 months, a year from now, as things change and shift, you might be in a place where you go, oh, I thought that was a good idea, but not at the time. Now it's perfect for me to investigate that.
My Sunday mornings, I get up, I start my coffee, I go sit on the back porch, and I grab an old sketchbook. And I just sit there and listen to the birds and stuff, and I get my coffee done, and it's just me being on the back porch in nature. And sometimes I sit there and I don't even open the book up. And then sometimes I'm sitting there and I start thinking about something. I'll open it up and just start thumbing through some old notes that I made. And it almost never fails. One of those little ideas will relate to another idea that I run across in the book. Next thing you know, it's a whole new thing that I'm excited about.
Yeah.
Whether it be a composition for a painting or, something like the Mystery Art League. That's kind of how that happened. Tim mentioned this game we'd do with artwork years ago, and we had it wrote down. Then finally the augmented reality idea came, and you started piecing things together, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, okay, this could really work. What's funny is we simplified it to make it work, but it's definitely going to happen now. That's the great thing about it.
That's great.
It occurred to me in a large sense, like every one of our businesses. Oh, by the way, happy birthday to John Partapio.
Yes,
it was his birthday today.
I'll have to send him a message now.
Yes, the great one.
Shout out to John.
Shout out to him. We all have kind of interesting metaphors for our business in terms of like viewfinder and sight, metal, bees, and I was thinking that we could thoughtfully, if we kind of use that as like a stitch, like interlace everything we're doing with kind of back to the bone marrow of the metaphor for it, it could be really powerful.
Pretty powerful, yeah. I agree.
Sure.
I think as a goal in general, we talked about listing our 10 grand goals, career goals. One of the biggest goals, other than completing things for me, is taking action. because I'm an introvert, so I tend to hide a lot, especially when I get nervous.
You're an
and
extroverted introvert.
Well, it's funny because for years and years and years, people talked about fear, right?
Yeah.
And I thought, I don't fear anything. I'm
Still
not
want to
fearful
do
of
it.
anything.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But there's been
Look at my hands and
right, but there's different kinds of fear.
Yeah.
You know, and my fear showed up in the form of anxiety. You know, overwhelm, right? And so I'd get to a certain part, and I'd self-sabotage myself. Where, I've worked on this thing, whatever it is, for so long, worked so hard, and then I get to that level where you're almost finished, and then I stop and I pull back, and I had to really look at that when we made these goals.
Start judging it, maybe the
Well,
expectation.
it's the imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
It's like
it is the imposter.
I know in my heart it's always good if it's part of who you are, because that's what art is, right? It's not what they want, it's what you feel, and then they come you have to find the right audience.
The audience is there.
Absolutely.
You gotta find the right one.
But you have to take action too. You can't, like, I've got all these things almost lined up perfectly, you know, like in my library of almost completed. And it's just going to take a little bit of effort on each end, but I'm stopped, and I've got to take action. And I think since COVID, since I had all this time to filter through all this stuff, that's kind of my new quotation mark thing.
Yeah.
Take action, no matter what. I need to be taking action on those thoughts, even if there's a minimal chance it's going to work. It doesn't matter.
That's right.
Because that's what all these young people are doing on social media right now. Is they don't care.
Exactly.
And when you're younger, you don't care because you want to be
You're
who you
fearless.
are.
Infinite. Right.
And I think as what adulthood kind of ruins us in that mindset, because we learn, especially as a business, that we have to perfect everything.
Yes.
When you're in your 20s, I didn't care what anybody thought. I just put it all out there. We didn't have social media back
Yeah,
then.
that's true.
But that's what makes social media work so well. And in order for us to be using it properly, is we just have. It's a day-to-day thing. It doesn't have to be perfected. Just share. Tell people how you're feeling, what you're working on, what it means to you. That's the connection.
Well, the things I'm most drawn to when I do fall into, YouTube videos or whatever, the people that are the most organic, or they're not
sincere.
polished.
Mm-hmm.
You can tell that there's somehow there's polishedness to their videos. Their sound's always good, those kind of things. But they're just being themselves with good quality audio and video. And I don't think that if they didn't have the perfect microphone or the perfect camera, that I would like it any less. It just makes it easier to watch or listen to.
Well, I think the other thing that I realized, I was skating through some YouTube videos the other day, actually yesterday, trying to figure out how to, do better audio, and I came across an old video, a YouTube video of Tim Ferriss, like from years ago. If you've not heard his stuff, you need to check him out. He's pretty cool.
Is he a comedian?
No, he's a I don't even know what he is. He has all kinds of content. No, he's got content. He's big. If you don't know who he is, you need to Google him. But anyways, he's a podcaster. He's got his own podcast series. Okay. And an author and all kinds of stuff. He's got he's got a lot of
I may get his emails, maybe.
I
get a lot of emails from.
But he was going through that process, and he was explaining about how he started, how he was worried about a lot of that stuff, and it took him a while to perfect. So when he was telling the gear that he was using for podcasting, this was like 5 years ago. I looked at the date, and I'm like, wow, that was a long time ago. He's probably using very different gear. But what he did say is that in the beginning, he was such a perfectionist, trying to improve and improve and improve. And the very first ones really kind of sucked sound-wise, but nobody cared because it was the content and the information he was sharing that people were really into. That's how he grew his audience.
Right.
And it did get a little more polished, but he also doesn't do it all now. He now has a system, and it's probably changed even now more so than it was 5 years ago, where he uses his tools, and he uses it to the best of his knowledge. And when he's done, he sends his audio somewhere else. He tells them what his notes are. He explains what he wants, and somebody else does all that.
Wow.
If you get to a point where you're functioning in that manner, you should be able to afford someone to do that, and that's
Right.
going to take the stress off of trying to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's
true.
what a marketing
Yeah.
strategist or person's going to help you with as well.
Mhm.
But you have to be ready. You have to get all the work together first, I think.
Well, this harkens back to what we were talking about. Like, if you're going to add something, what's your sacrificial lamb?
Yeah.
Because there's only so much budget, there's only so much time, and it's endlessly enticing.
And sometimes it's better to hire somebody to do one of these
Yes,
minute
outsource
tasks so
it.
you can make better content. If you're
Especially if
focusing on the content, who cares? Let
Especially
somebody
if
else do
it's
it.
sticling your creativity, absolutely.
Right.
Yep.
I mean, if
If
it's
it's part
keeping
of
you
it,
from
yeah.
doing what you love, then you need to find a way
For
to
sure.
make it happen. I agree.
Imposter syndrome.
So
That's
the
so
one
haunting.
last thing I want to talk about is, it's so funny, you talk about getting rid of something. It's for the last 3 years, one of my goals has been to focus on a body of work that, my painting process, that wasn't, the word I'm trying to think of here, influenced by anybody outside myself. So, and I started that process, I guess it goes back to your thing and not finishing something. I've played around and I've done several experimental pieces that were going to be a part of that. And it never fails. I get caught up in, okay, I need to make work for Copper Fox Gallery. Oh, I need to do something. I want to do it for this show, or I want to do, whatever the case may be. So that's another 1 year goals. I want, between now and 1 year from now, I want to, even if it's just 4 or 5 pieces of work that I do for me, and I don't show it, it doesn't get shared anywhere until they're done. I've got 5,
100%.
10, it could be 20, I don't know, it depends on what it is. Some things, are pretty easy and they come fast so you can knock them out. Then some things, maybe there's a painting it takes me 3 months to do. As long as I'm working on it. Because when I did that commission of the Ryman recently, that painting took a lot out of me. But I'm thinking as I'm doing it, I was like, this is really something I want to do. Is I want it to be hard and take time, because then results always worth it.
Right.
And then of course I get done with this big commission and I put all this work and effort into it. Then I don't want to get rid of it. So we've already agreed on the price and it's got to go.
Exactly.
So, it'd been different if I was doing that for me. I probably could have lived with it for a little while,
Yeah.
and then the price probably would have been a lot more.
Yeah.
Right.
Because it was a commission, I was like, I'll do it for this.
Yeah.
Knowing that I don't want to overprice it because they might say no.
Yeah. The other part of not completing something though is that you can always complete it.
Yeah.
It's still sitting.
It's always there.
Yeah.
Well, it's like
But
so
that
much-
can also add stress to your life.
Exactly.
Right.
That's the problem.
Yeah.
Is the stress. It's not the incomplete object. It's
what
the
it means
stress
to you.
of you knowing that you could do something with that, but you're not. You're choosing not to use your
Right.
time to do that.
And understanding why you're choosing not to do
Yes.
it too. That's important
What's more
too.
important?
Is it because you're hung up on a specific thing
Yeah.
that you don't want to do? That's where it comes into maybe you need to get someone who's better at that, or you can
Yeah.
hire someone to finish that for you.
Materials. It could be.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So, moving forward to next week, what goals do we want to set? Or do we want to continue on the path of developing our 10 top?
Well,
I think we could.
I could just name off, and I'm pretty. I keep saying these things out loud every week because they're important to me right now. I want to make them habit. Posting YouTube videos, tailwind, making sure my Instagram posts are going out every day. And I'm getting close to running out of what I've already prepped, so I gotta get on that this afternoon.
You're at the end of a
probably.
month.
Yeah. So, and then,
It sounds like we're talking about flowers.
yeah,
Like, it was like the flowers. This one needs water.
Yeah.
This one's got aphids.
So let's see, YouTube, Instagram post, and the cool thing is now this is what's positive about what we're doing. You start thinking about how to use your time better. So now, when I do the video for YouTube, I do the fast edit on YouTube. I haven't dumped in anything because I told you I couldn't figure it out. But I'm posting, and as soon as I do, I copy the link. I go to my blog. I write a little couple paragraphs about it. I embed it into the blog, and then I share that link on Instagram or not Instagram, but LinkedIn and Facebook. So I'm knocking out 4 or 5 things.
Mm-hmm.
Well, maybe that's something that we could talk about next week. Is what is a good circuit of those things?
Yeah.
What is the circuit of those things for each of us?
Right, because they're all going to be different.
They're all going to be different.
Yeah.
The one thing I will say that I've learned through starting this whole thing, my project with Learn and Create, is there's a lot of details in the SEO parts, the keywording and the writing the description of whatever it is you're sharing, and that can bog you down and take a lot of time, and it's not fun. Frankly, I like to write, but I don't like to write that kind of stuff. So what I've started doing is kind of creating a template type thing where I can repeat it, and I'm just filling in the blanks. And I've found that makes it a lot easier. I have my basic hashtags ready to go. I have the template of who, what, when, where, how, because that's what your description is, right?
Yep.
What's a hashtag?
And then links, so I create a little template. It's like fill in the blanks, and it makes it go a lot quicker than me sitting there.
So that's what you have.
I mean, you got to change the initial content,
right?
But the overall template makes it quicker to pull together, because you're not sitting there going, well, what do I need to add, or what was that? What were my main hashtags? And so I'm finding that creating that in advance and keeping that in like my notepad so that I have it on all of my devices, because it shares on my Mac.
Can you send me a copy of that?
Yeah, probably could.
Something? Yeah, because I don't think about hashtags. I really don't. And I know that it's just a whole...
Well, the great thing is you can sit down and just think about your metal shop. Hashtag metal, hashtag reuse, hashtag welding, hashtag...
So are all your hashtags, are you looking for like what their audience is when you're...
What your audience is. So what I would do, here's how I would do it. This is what Ross, who's helping me with some of my SEO right now, he gave me I have 1 month to come up with my keywords and everything that I think are the strongest based on what I want to share on this new site.
Okay.
So basically what you need to do is you need to sit down and first make a list of every kind of work, and I'm sharing what he shared with me. Make a list of, think about your site and how you break it all down, and especially you, since you're building your site. What kind of categories would you have? Like, what's important to your art or to your world? What are those specific areas? Like, it might be beeswax on wood or beeswax on paper for you. I'm just throwing something out there. Yours might be metal sculpture that's a standalone, or metal sculpture that's functionable, right?
Wall hanging,
functional
whatever
art,
that's big, small, whatever that looks like for you. Come up with all of your words that are connected to what you want to share first, because that's your subject matter.
Right.
Okay, that's how you got to build your website from that anyway. So those are going to be all what you call your drop downs or your subheaders. Once you have that, take those words and put them in Google and search them, and see what comes up at the top search. And start paying attention to the combinations of words.
Okay.
And so he told me to do all of that, and then start combining. Pick the ones that come up at the highest level in the Google search. So if you've got metal sculpture with bicycle parts, I'm just throwing that out there, and then you see what comes up at the top of that search, start looking at those keywords that are coming up at the top of the search, and intermingle those with other words that are also coming up at the top, and then combine them and see how they work together with what you're... And so that'll start making your keywords a little more powerful. There's also some free keyword finders online that you can find and throw those words in there to see.
Keyword finders.
Yeah, but so you got to create content that has the right keywords for the right audience. Because think of it, it's almost like you have to put yourself in the position of the Googler, so to speak. When we Google something that we're looking for, we're choosing a specific set of words to find what we're looking for, and sometimes it's really hard to find what we're looking for because we're not using the right words yet.
Exactly.
Right? So you're constantly putting in, and the top keywords are going to come up, whether it's what you're looking for or not. Right. We need to put ourselves in the searcher. In their position, the person searching
can sometimes be good.
Oh yeah,
because people misspell certain words all the time, and if you put in,
especially for some specific thing.
Yes.
So we need to be putting in the words as if we were the person looking for our own work.
Yeah.
Right.
Basically putting yourself in the position of the person trying to find you.
Right.
In order to help you come up with your best words. Because you have to know your audience to be successful. And I think that's, for me, even with the business knowledge I have, I understand how it all works. But for me, that's the hardest part, is figuring out specifically who my audience is, because I'm all over the place, you know.
Well, it's interesting to think about that, because when you're like buying domains, you know, you would probably buy Sheri, SHERRY, SHER, you know, it's like all the iterations anticipating
so you know
the well-intended but misinformed audience.
Right. Well, the other thing is, your name doesn't matter. If someone hasn't found you yet, your name means nothing to them.
True.
It's what you're searching for. It's what you're creating. What are they searching for? How are they gonna find you? They don't know who Val Adams is, but they know what metal sculpture is, and they know what they're looking for. So that we got to step outside of our name. Isn't that important, especially in the beginning? I mean, we want to build a name, right?
Right.
But you have to.
I just want to outcompete Val Adams, who's the animal husbandry guy, because I got to stay ahead of him.
Well, and you got Randy Purcell.
I got a trombone player that's deceased.
That one little letter. But you can get to a point where you don't have to use that letter anymore, and it just takes time, right?
Well, I'm at that point now.
Yeah.
If you search anything Randy Purcell, I mean, people that are searching for me are going to find me.
Right.
If you do Randy Purcell music, now the trombone players.
Right, but you have such a specialty too that beeswax transfers.
That's going to bring me up.
That's going to bring you up at some point.
I do have a niche.
Yeah, you have a really good niche. Yours is going to be a little easier probably in the long haul of things.
If they're looking for a beeswax
mine's more
artist,
generalized, and yours is probably more generalized, where you're going to have to really pick the things that you truly love doing, and those are the words that you're going to have to find.
Well, and that's the thing, it's going back to the guitar again, is that I think that I'm going to have to, I shouldn't even use that terminology. I am fortunate to have the dilemma of occupying a guitar niche where I make guitars, and I'm known as somebody who does that. That's what I started with. The first thing I ever made.
And they're unique too. I mean, there's different ways of making guitars as artwork, but yours is so
yours is
different.
Yeah, it is me.
It's so valid.
It is me. It's like
reuse. I mean,
somebody told me the other day. They said they looked at my art and they said it reminded them of Hans Geiger, the guy he's the one who developed all the stuff that led to Aliens and all that phantasmal airbrushing, you know, with the creatures, and I never thought of it that way. But he was like one of my heroes back in the day. You know, I had like black light posters. Back when they had black light posters. Did I say that out loud? Did I say that out loud? Might have. Hey, are we good on time? How are we doing?
I think we're done.
We're good. Yeah. So we got our goals for next week. Let's go get to work.
We're going to
tear some deck down.
We're gonna go get rid of some anger.
If you listen to this, make sure you pay attention to especially Sheri's Learn and Create, and follow our media outlets, because we may continue this if we get enough interest.
Yeah, if you found some value in this, let us know. Learn and Create is something I created in March, and it's ever growing and expanding, and I don't know, I'm letting it grow organically, and I'm hoping it's going to turn into, this was actually, I think, both of your ideas that we actually record one of these. We've been doing this, about a month now?
It's about the 4th or 5th time.
And we did this to hold each other accountable. We do this once a week, whether it's in person or on Zoom, and the whole idea is 3 creative people in a room trying to come up and set goals and hold each other accountable for achieving those goals. We're going week to week, and we're building our goals into bigger things.
And we want to encourage everybody else to start their own groups.
Right, because the value that we were getting out of this is huge.
The blueprint.
I mean, I don't even think I realized how valuable this would be when we started it.
And it's something that's common in the business world.
Right.
Why not the art business world?
But this format of 3 people is exactly right.
Yeah.
4 is too many, 2 is too few.
Right. And so my goal is to share with our audience, if they're interested in this, to see if they're getting anything out of it. If not, we'll just continue doing what we're doing. But We just thought we'd share it and see what happens. So, so let us
Your call
know.
to duty, audience.
Yep.
There you
If you want
go.
to hear more, let us know.
All right.
We have rhino skin.
That's right. That's it.